Okay, you're just in time for another eBay unboxing. We have some holy items here. Let's see if we can open up some more holy items and see what it is inside this box. It's really intriguing. We'll do it in fast motion. All right, so let's inspect what we have here. And this was a really lucky buy because the seller did not know that this was antique. And I really like antique objects because they're not mass produced like they are today. They were mass produced back in the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century, but at the same time, a lot of handcrafting was done in the making of these things. Not like today, where things are just made on a grand scale. I mean, these things were made on a grand scale, but not as like today. I mean, today is like almost Amazon conveyor belt, made in China things. And I really like things with a sense of almost like somebody put craftsmanship and workmanship into this, not like on a Ford assembly line. So what I like right off the bat is these hand carved wooden beads. And if you look, they're like little roses. Let's go ahead and do a tight zoom. And antique rosaries generally will have these little, I don't know if you see the way the wire was twisted. The wire will be twisted going into the locks or into each link, I mean. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that's constructed. And generally, you will see a lot of these carved wooden beads. And that is just really, I mean, look at how tiny these are. I'm going to pull a zoom out here to show you. Can you imagine the amount of work that went into making each one of these beads? It's nothing short of astonishing. And so let's go ahead. I'm just going to zoom back out just a little bit. And I mean, look at this. This is just amazing. All right, so let's go ahead and do some more research. Generally, you can also tell an antique rosary by the fact that right here, I think these are called the Potter beads, and you don't see a medal. You don't see a holy medal. You'll see an upside down heart. It'll be facing the wrong way. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. And that's how you can tell an old rosary. Now we have a clue. And this is Pope Leo the 13th. So that's another clue about dating this. And generally, this would have been a tourist piece. Don't know if you can see that. I'm going to clean this up with some Simicrone. And you might say, ooh, leave the old patina on it. But you might see the green. I don't know if you can see the verdigris. Verdigris is very bad for metals. And if you have verdigris on antique metal, you need to get that off as much as possible. Otherwise, eventually, that will eat away at the metal and leave it actually with like big gaps in it, and it'll just decay and turn to dust. So let's do some research. Let's zoom in here and try to see what it says on here. And sometimes it'll even have a year. So this was a tourist piece. This would be something that somebody got when they were visiting Rome. And back then it wasn't the Vatican really yet. So, but it was the Vatican. So it does say Rome. And we have this little scene going on here. I can't really read it. I'm going to have to get my loop and I'll be right back. Okay, so I Google translated this. I don't know. Oh, we'll flip it to the side. I need it on. And right there on the top, don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to show you. Pèlerinage français. It means French pilgrimage. And so this has something to do with the French. And very interesting. And but it does say Rome on the bottom. So it was a pilgrimage of, I guess, French people to Rome to see Pope Leo. We'll do further investigation. That's the whole fun thing about collecting these things. Let's flip it to this side. And I can't see it with my naked eye, so I'm going to look at it with the loop and I'll be right back. Okay, so it says Leo the 13th, Pontius Maximus. And on the bottom it says Rome, but there's no year. And I do know that he was in power from the 1870s up into 1903. Now let's clean this metal up. So look at it now. We'll flip it over. And we'll see how clean we can get this. And then we'll do further research, which is quite interesting to get an age on this or a date. Okay, great news before I clean the metal. This is actually 135 years old. And that is, oh my God, that is nothing short of astonishing. So this is so old This is the 1880s, 1889, and this medal was actually made to encourage the French to. He had like a great affection for the French, and especially with the Napoleonic Wars and so on and so forth. He actually had a great affection for the French, and so it's no wonder this medal was made as a pilgrimage medal from France to Rome. And this is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and clean this, and then we're going to find out. We're going to do more research, look up these medals. Now, I do see these, just the medal itself, generally selling in the $80 to $90 price range on the internet. Sometimes you can get it in the $60 price range, but a lot of them are in the $80 to $90 price range just for this tiny little copper. It feels and looks like copper metal, which is quite cool. All right, so I cleaned it, and the Simichrome really, I mean, look how outstandingly clean this got. Let's look at it now. Look at that. Isn't that just beautiful? I mean, I feel a little bad about, like, removing about 130-something years of patina, but at the same time, you don't want the metal to actually corrode. Let's turn it over. Look at that. Now you could really read everything. You can see all the detail. And again, look at the beauty of these old beads. Now, generally, like rosaries, old rosaries, people get on eBay probably for about $10. And when I say old, I mean vintage. Like something from the 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe even the 40s and 30s. They don't sell for very much. Pretty much it's like a novelty. They're probably about $6 to $25, depending upon. Sometimes you'll find like a vintage rosary that has really pretty crystal beads. A lot of them were made in Bohemia, otherwise known as Czechoslovakia. You will find sometimes precious stones, well, semi-precious stones. Like you'll find some kind of like, I'm trying to think like onyx or something like that, but pretty much they're mostly plastic. You'll see a lot of the glow-in-the-dark ones that are sort of tacky. But when it comes to the beauty of these type of beads, these are really highly collectible and loved. So what would a rosary like this sell for? I can't really tell you. It's very subjective. It depends on who wants it and who wants it bad enough. And again, the fact that we have this original metal, and this is a tourist piece as well as a holy rosary. It's a tourist piece. Look at the heart. Look at the carvings in that. I mean, look how beautiful that is. Isn't that lovely? And this wood, I don't know what kind of wood it is, but it's really quite pretty. It's almost like a cherry wood. I don't know my woods very well, but the color is gorgeous. It's almost like a mahogany. It could be mahogany. And again, they really did not skimp when they made beads. So let's like go over some comparables about what the prices would be for something like this. So this example I'm showing you is $1,079. It has these like almost like faded red wooden beads. And if you notice right, like where I showed you the heart, it's upside down. And that's really, wow. I'm just like, wow. All right, let's go check out some more antique rosaries and see what they sell for. Okay, this is very, very similar to mine in the fact that it actually has a hand-carved, it's French, which is another dead giveaway. It's a French one with the hand-carved beads and over $700. Really cool. Now here's another hand-carved rosary, and it's French. And so now we're getting close to actually the value of probably what this is. Now this is even more unique because it is a Pope like artifacts. So there's people that collect papal artifacts. So that's what actually gives it more of its intrigue. Now, ones that were once owned by priests or nuns, especially the 7-decade ones, those ones actually sell it depends on how fancy they are, in the 600 and above price range. Sometimes you can find them for really cheap, or somebody who's willing to flip them quickly for in the 200 price range. Now this sterling capped one is really very, very beautiful. Now you have an addition, instead of wood, you have a precious metal. And that is a lot of money. Oh my goodness. That is absolutely crazy. So this pre 7-decade one is, wow. Okay. That is just like, I'm telling you, these are very, very valuable because they don't make them anymore like they used to. Now here's a semi-precious stone, which is moonstone, and you can see that they sell for quite a bit of money. Now this old Seven Sorrows one is selling for like $3,500, and I'm like blown away. Oh my goodness. And there's people like the old metals on them. They don't like the newer mass-produced metals like these. These are just, ugh. You know what I mean? They want the old original metals that were made over 100 years ago. Now here's an example of a metal that just sold on eBay for $78. It's the Pope Leo the 13th pilgrimage medal. And these medals actually do sell for close to $100. I've seen a couple of them sell in the $125 price range as well. Now they made a series of different medals from Pope Leo the 13th that look almost identical to this, but have different designs on the back. But they'll have the Pope Leo on the other side like that. And they had different dates on them. Some of them were from the 1870s. Some of them were from the 1880s. And you can still find these on eBay for like $15, boys and girls. So sometimes like people just don't bother Googling things, and they just think it's like a cheap piece of copper, and they'll list it on eBay, and you can get them, you can score them for like $10, $15, which is cool. And so let's go ahead and we're going to segue over to a little thing about Pope Leo the 13th, just so you can know more about him.
Vincenzo Gioacchino Raffaele Luigi Pecci, better known as Leo XIII, was born in the Italian town of Carpineto Romano 200 years ago on March 2nd, 1810. He studied philosophy, theology, civil and canon law in Rome and was ordained a priest in 1837. When he was 33, the Pope appointed him Apostolic Nuncio to Belgium. He worked there only 3 years because King Leopold I was not happy with his support for the local bishops in their struggle against the Liberal Party. He returned to Italy as Bishop of Perugia, where he lived for 32 years. After the death of Pius IX in 1878, he was elected Pope, and he chose the name Leo XIII. As Pope, he allowed experts and scholars access to the Vatican archives, which have since been closed to the general public. He also mediated between Germany and Spain in the conflict of the Caroline Islands, and he wrote the encyclical Rerum Novarum, the Church's first encyclical focusing on social issues. Leo XIII was also the first Pope to appear in film. Walking through the Vatican gardens, as seen in this footage, he wanted to show people he was still healthy, also to quiet rumors to the contrary circulating among European leaders. In 1903, after 25 years as Pope, Leo XIII died in Rome. His pontificate is remembered for having changed the course of the Church.
And so collecting these very, very old rosaries are really fun. They're very hard to come by. You don't generally see a lot of them on eBay. Like I said, you're going to see things that actually belong in a junk drawer generally on eBay. You're going to see a lot of people sell rosary beads that are plastic or glow in the dark, or probably about maybe tops like 50 years old, 60 years old. It's really not old in the grand scale of things, especially when it comes to rosaries. But once you're getting into the 100-year-olds and older, that's when they really are collectible. Because again, look how they were made. It's not something that's reproduced today. Generally, you can do this by machine, most likely. But these were carved by hand, and most likely French. Again, we don't know what kind of wood this is, but just the beautiful, lovely, lovely color of the wood alone. And the fact that they're just so, look at that. Look how many of them there are with this beautiful carving. So it really shows you about the workmanship of the past and the pride people took in making things beautiful and actually usable. And so now we have Happy Pope Leo the 13th. I did not clean him as much as I wanted to. I kept some of the patina on him because, you don't want to clean it too much and make it shine too much, but enough where I got a lot of the verdigris off and where it's shining enough for now where you can actually see what it says on it. So happy collecting. I don't know if many of you collect these things, but they can get pretty pricey. Now, what I showed you were the prices they're selling for. Now, in real life, Most people aren't going to spend that much on the rosaries that I showed you. Those will probably sit there for a year, maybe 6 months to 2 years until a real collector comes by and actually will pay the money. But for general like value, it's subjective. So whatever one person won't pay, another person will definitely pay that price. And I used to sell on Etsy, and I used to mark up my antiques by at least 40%. So whatever the value was, say it was worth $200, I would list my item for $500. And I didn't have any problems getting a sale. I would actually wait maybe 6 months to a year, but somebody always came along and had the money and didn't actually bargain, or they didn't actually price match, or, well, we don't price match on Etsy, but they would actually, they wouldn't bother like searching and seeing like what these things go for. If they just liked an object that was old, they didn't care and they bought it. And most of those people lived in Beverly Hills, as you can imagine. I've shipped to a lot of celebrities in the past. Won't tell you who they are, but yeah, multimillionaires, billionaires, and they had the money and they weren't caring about a bargain. So once again, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Keep an eye out for these very old rosaries. They still make these today like this, but they're plastic. So you have to, or celluloid. You have to be very careful and make sure that these aren't a copy of the older ones that are made to look old, but they're made out of like a plastic bead. These are real wood, and these were hand carved, and they're just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. All right, I'll see you on the next eBay unboxing, hopefully soon.